and he started a label. Just after I was selling tapes and all that kind of thing, he still kept pursuing his rap dream. And he come back to me about reconnecting and doing something. So his name was C-Loc at the time, without no recollection of knowing that what my name was. So at one time, if you go back to those old records, we had any of those original C-Loc records, we advertised the album called A Pair of Lokes. We were supposed to do like the face-off cover, but all face together, a pair of Lokes on it. But, you know, we end up falling apart, you know, do the business and other things. And we never produced that record, as well as a record called Smokey and the Bandit. You know what I mean? I'm going to change my name one more time. You know what I mean? My original name was, shouts out to my OG cousin, Super Slim, the Southside Record Crew, original bottom boy, before his pass. So with his name being Bleed, somewhere along 8, 9 years old, I say, hey, Papa, look, one day I know what I'm going to do. Once I got my rap glitch, I'm going to be a rapper one day and I'm on the record company. We used to watch cartoons like Richard Rich and the Scooby-Doo and all that kind of shit. And I just, especially being a recording artist and a person of music. And he was a blues man that played the piano and stuff like that. But he said, you're going to make it, but you got to learn to do one thing. And I said, what's that, Papa? He said, well, listen, that one word, that'll be the definition of my life. So everything I do, like what we doing now, from the podcast to the studio to the videos, you got to listen to the, you see what I'm saying? Yeah, so he left me with that. I'm going to go back to think of what all this means to me. So his granddaddy died at that time. Then as a kid, like a boy king, like King Tug would be, the legacy fell on my shoulders, being first grandson. So my whole life dream was to preserve the family name, the family, and all that type of thing. So I called myself a chip off the old block, Young Bleed, the young that bleed for this generation. And when I say party on, look at the mob shit and all the gangs and shit. You see what I'm saying?
Back streets, man. Concentration camp, man. How's the relationship with everybody? Do you guys still do music, or is it just, you know, just leave a legacy for what it is?
Me and Loc really still hadn't settled our ties over the years. I done made he still, you know, apparently a little bitter with me. And before then, it was a time you couldn't say nothing opposite where he was concerned if I ain't pull up on you a certain way, and vice versa since kid. But when the music and the politics, and like I say, for the bullshit that came with the music shit that straight us apart, I hate that dearly. I used to didn't say the word hate, but it's written, it's a time to kill, it's a time to hate. So I had to learn when there's certain things that I hate. I wish that never happened, despite how I feel. You know, if it don't go both ways, you still got to live your life. So starting with the head of our commodity, you know, we hadn't spoke to each other verbally in over 20 years since the beginning. You see what I'm saying? So I hate that faction of it, because building it, I wanted to keep it forever. Right. And everybody else, we pretty much wanted the same. Like I said, I'm more from the camp. So I'm the founder of the camp. Loc on the label, but I started the Click Election that birthed everything that came under.
Okay, man. Yeah. Drop that knowledge on me, man. As you would say it or whatever. How did the Boosie get down with you guys?
Well, the thing is, we family, you know, down the street off the same block. Okay. He just from across the tracks and mobile to me to the river levee. Okay. I'm from the middle of Garfield, the top of the hill part of Garfield. I coined the term G Street because that's what I called it when we used to call it. Okay. Who I want to say is at least 8 to 9 years younger than me. So keep in mind, if he born in 83, 84, he wasn't on the planet. You see what I'm saying? When I was doing my thing. And nothing against that, but just giving you the true story. So later, saying that to say this, later in life, when he came a part of the camp, we had our falling out. You know what I mean? Me and C-Loc, and I had left. So they kept the umbrella. I morphed into the Corleone family, Detention Home Entertainment, Criminal Records, and Trapdoor Entertainment.
Criminal Records, okay.
Yeah.
You start merging into the No Limits and all that.
Well, the No Limit thing came with the C-Loc Gannet before I even had a label. So it was originally C-Loc Records, No Limit Records, and Priority Records. See, I signed to the same label Ice Cube did solo, and Eazy-E started his distribution with, you know. So I hopped from Baton Rouge to Sunset, California.
And my balls and my word, man. Classic, man. People talk about it to this day, man. You go on YouTube and just see the hits, the views, people, the memorabilia. Do you remember, like, what was your life like when you just was recording that whole project?
Yeah, and real dramatized and drastic and horrific to some degree. See, I was being beat by the police, had the blood stumped out of me, I had a shotgun put in my chest in my mama front yard, nobody come out to save me. You know, I went through some things. I was fighting a case and going to trial behind police brutality, and they used to hunt me down once I became the center of attention of the city and definitely my neighborhood. So I had those problems. You know, when they say, you know, the average rapper died in his hometown, all that, I was already going through that long before that.
Long before it was dangerous as a rapper. Like they say now, it's dangerous for rappers. Okay.
And my thing is, I had so much love and peace in the streets. I'm neighborhood to neighborhood out here. I had my little small run in as a child, but after I became the pivot of Baton Rouge, then everybody loved me. I mean, I couldn't go to the club some night with my song being a star song. You know, we go to Vibes and Dreams. They would let us in the club because they tearing the club up. So we had to do this. It was about 3 or so years before we was able to perform here. We can go everywhere else, but we couldn't perform in our own town. Like outlaw, sometimes it ain't good to be in your town due to the politics and the people. So I had those type of problems that I survived, thank God. You know what I mean? But bloody face, thrown in the parish prison, did some time, and I shouldn't have been there in the first place. And nobody was to my rescue. So the whole thing that P and those guys was trying to do was get me from out the streets of Baton Rouge to save my life and bring me to California and get me out this police case that I was going through at that time. So those true stories, ghost ride and all that, yeah, true events that I succumbed and just kind of spit G code. Anybody real close, around me, know exactly what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? But everybody else, okay, it's a fly rap song. But you, like Nipsey say, you should come visit my song. Yeah, see what got me on, man. Yeah, it's true life out there.
Man, Backstreet shit, man. What made P hop on the remix?
Well, that song was so hot, out the studio hot.
Right.
Down the back street, like you say, back street, hot. In the country towns here, if they didn't have a radio station, if I was in somebody country stick studio in Cotton Valley, Louisiana, you'll hear the cars coming down the street, and that's what they playing. You see what I'm saying? So before radio, we'll test our record a certain way. And the shows we did, you know, putting them in certain cars and definitely pressing, you know, being an independent label at the time, it was in the street. So once the radio caught a hold, I had connection to radio since real young. I've been on the radio since like 16 to 17 years old. AM connected to the FM guys. So when they built the third FM station, 94.1, coming from WXOK, rest in peace to Ernest the Night Prince, and them old heads, and Michael B. Williams and Tar Sterling, those guys when I was 10 and 14, and they was kind of grooming me and bringing me into the talent shows and different things like that. It was in the evolution time of P rekindling in the South. And him and Loc being two CEOs between New Orleans and Baton Rouge. If we edited in a videotape or whatever, we all meet at Cox Cable or somewhere in New Orleans or somewhere here. And they most so had the relationship. Right. And I was more bound. So when he got a woman that record, I got an offer to do a remix, a deal with Priority Records, a ticket to California. We'll see what happens. And the rest is history. How did you feel about the homie Problem remixing it and you know putting this on twist to it? Years later, I get a phone call from Kansas City. Shouts out to my brother Chauncey Clyde. Me, him, my brother Money Waters out of Dallas, Texas. Me and Money, I drove up to Kansas to work on the record with Chauncey called Three Headed Monster. And we made that record and you know a few songs on the internet. And I don't know what he did for us depression. But he is a good friend of mine, brother, well over damn near for, if not 20 years now, was my first connect in Kansas City, going out there and doing records and doing shows, you know, for Priority Records. So he was the guy who picked me up and introduced me to California, you know what I mean, and brought me through and toured me through the company. So fast forward in the tape, years later, he had become vice president, the Strange Records, Strange Music, Tech Nine, those guys.
Yeah, okay.
So him and Chauncey had met some kind of way with that, they being stationed out of Kansas City. They had connected and they was riding one day listening to that Three Headed Monster. He say, man, you know Bleed? Say, yeah, Bleed, my guy. Man, call Bleed. I know Bleed 14 years or so at the time, since Priority, since 97. But me and Dave got back on the phone. He said, what you doing? Me and Sebo had connected, you know, years prior to that with the West Coast Mafia, and we still bros to this day. Co-oping our labels and Corleone family and the West Coast Mafia gang. And all that to say this. When I joined the label and really just did a co-op deal, I never really signed with them and ran with them for about a year or two. But in the midst of that, I had the privilege and the honor and the pleasure of meeting my man J-Rock from out of Watts, Kenny Lamar, and TDE. And we was, we backstage one day, and I'm like, man, yeah, he had a cap on that had TDE across the top. I said, what that mean? He said, that's my label, Top Dog Entertainment. I said, my shit is TDE, Trap Dough Entertainment. And that's the co-op I did with Strange and Trap Dough, but I didn't have a logo at the time, so I didn't put it on the record. You know what I mean? So we became good partners. His right-hand man by the name of Magnum P.I. or King, they out the Watts area, Blood Boys. And one day I said, bro, I got a young homie that love your music and want to know if it's okay to remake your song. Or he really remade it on a mixtape and they sent it to me. And that cat was problem. You see what I'm saying? So he was real humbled and it was a beautiful thing. And yeah, so we talked and all that. And I was like, look, man, I don't care pretty much what you do with that record. It's kind of old news. But if it's some money in it, make sure I get my money. Other than that, I appreciate you doing the one thing that I saw a lot of OGs, and we could start from the top of the food chain down, that bit that record. That did that, and they pay me homage when they see me, but where it count, and that I'm not on your albums and all that old pussy ass shit. You know what I'm saying? You at least said my name and my own record. I appreciate that.
Right.
So take that shit and run with it. And which he did, and he grew. I was hip to a few records he was on, but I wasn't so keyed into him as an artist and didn't know who he was. I started paying more attention to him. And that took off from him. We had some differentials on the in-between. He wasn't so humble later on when it took off for him. And, that became a problem cross country. Everybody calling me cross country, asked me what you had. Who this young dude just took your record, man? Did you hear that? I had to explain this story over and over. Nah, bro, we ain't got no problems. Ain't no beef, ain't no flicks. But we'll have our difference, you know what I mean, later on because, I'm real key to, I know a lot of people. I heard Snoop say something recently, say, you can imagine there's 1,000,001 people trying to get at Snoop all the time, but he says 11 guys is really my true friend. You see what I'm saying? So you got your inner circle and outer circle. So with that being said, I'm keen to call me on that phone. If you was calling me in the beginning and I can't catch you, and we had that situation.
Yes, yeah.
And, it been semi-worked out. We hadn't talked too much in that time. He tried to straighten out some stuff between managers and all that. And then from there, I don't know which direction it went in. But streetwise and otherwise, me and Bloods and Crips alike and talked about it. Much love, problem, and, love and respect, my brother. If we could ever get that together, whatever the case might be, it's water in the bridge now. But that's the basis of that story. You know what I mean?
Young Bleed on the back streets. I got 2 more before I got here because it look like we done been running and rocking damn near 40 minutes in here, man. Would you think Pimp C would be proud of Southern rap right now?
Not with the bullshit. And he said that to the grave. That was my brother. Me and Bun is cool. Me and Bun is like this here.
That I believe, man.
Me and Pimp and Mama West, and his kids, that really took a liking to me. And I'll tell you a true quick Pimp C story. Way before I get in the vicinity of Pimp and be able to be in the range to, I said, nah. He said, Chad Butler. I said, what Chad? He said, Chad Butler. Pimp C, man. I knew about them from you. Yeah, bro. I'm a UGK fan. Man, you remind me a lot of Chad, bro. You need to meet Chad. And he was telling me he was from Crowley. Ironically, I used to work at a Pizza Hut, and I had a partner from Crowley that moved down here that was a delivery pizza delivery driver. So in my hustle time, when shit was slow down here, we'll hop in his whip, a little Pontiac old school something, and ride all the way to Crowley. And I set up shop in Crowley without knowing that's what Pimp originally from. I learned later in life. So, God working mysterious ways. We didn't have these conversations. And I'm not speaking after the grave. This conversation I done had with Pimp and plans we had and different things. And unfortunately, his untimely demise, the only recording you will have of me and Pimp in life is Bring the Noise on my album. He produced the track, but really for 504 Bars or a mystical album. And when I was wrapping up my record, it's 3 records P allowed me to get out the vault. And that was one of them. You see